What a beautiful wedding, says a bridesmaid to a waiter. Yes, but what a shame the poor groom's bride is.
I hope you're all having a great summer. I know I am, and mine's been busy enough that filming this series as regularly as I'd like to has become a little challenging. It's not that I've forgotten, just that the days and weeks have seemed to mesh together, and getting ample sunlight to film in my car has become scarce as I continue to burn the daylight hours. Believe me, this has all been happening in the background. CDs have continued to flow from the media cabinet out to my car, and a wealth of new albums have been added to the collection throughout these past few months. We're essentially diving into a summer's worth of listening to CDs in the sedan. We'll check out what was picked for the months of May, June, and July, plus there'll be a closer look at what I'm listening to this August. As I've stated, summer has been a busy time this year, and I've been hard at work on new music, seeing a smorgasbord of artists live just about every week, perfecting my broth and pork belly technique, and getting ready for some special events coming up later this year. This also means that some extra special off-grid television will be coming, but it's unclear to me what that'll look like. The local steel mill funding my TV channel is really the sugar daddy calling the shots around here. Like I've mentioned previously, we're setting a slower pace and taking our time with the TV episodes. CD swaps are here to stay. We'll swim through some discographies, watch way too many movies, and even try some new ideas. But again, videos will only pop up every once in a while. I don't make the rules around here. The steel mill does. Be sure to click on that thumb button, write a comment if you've got thoughts on the albums here and their CD versions, and subscribe to this TV channel to be among the first to be fully and truly disappointed. Let's get right into the compact discs and see if my car is still in the driveway where I left it. Luckily, besides the front console, I've got plenty of storage space for CDs in this vehicle. You'll have to bear with the movie magic for a little while today. Okay, it looks like the first one out of the gate from our May CDs is none other than Endtroducing by DJ Shadow. Not only that, but this is the Introspective edition, a 20th anniversary re-release with so much jam-packed into it. DJ Shadow is a music producer, best known for his sample-based Plunderphonics records, made up entirely of vinyl samples, processed through drum machines and other analog equipment. In 1996, he released Introducing, his debut release, and one of his best-known albums to date using this method. Decked out from start to finish are layers upon layers of samples, otherworldly arrangements of spoken word, piano passages, drum loops, bass, and whatever else Mr. Shadow could get his hands on. While plenty of artists and groups would employ this technique in music making throughout the years, Introducing truly feels like the essence of this sound. Like I said, this is the 20th anniversary Introspective edition, so there's multiple discs and alternate mixes of the tracks. Not to mention the absolute treasure trove of liner notes, technical information, and DJ Shadow lore that is crammed into the casing. There's so much going on here that it's difficult to recommend just a handful of songs. But we'll do it anyway. On this record, I'd start with Building Steam with a Grain of Salt, Changeling, and Napalm Brain / Scatterbrain. You do yourself a favor just by running the full length of this in your car, on your headphones, any place you choose. But you should buy this specific edition if you can. Next up in the stack is going to be Paul McCartney's album Egypt Station from 2018. Oh yeah! Paul McCartney is best known for being Paul McCartney. This means that his gigantic career has encompassed the Beatles, Wings, and a lengthy, successful solo project that has included dozens of albums, tours, and eras. Kind of like Taylor Swift, Paul's 2018 record Egypt Station made waves with its eclectic style and its album concept, with each track loosely based around the idea of radio stations playing one distinct style after another. I've got a theory for why this one is called Egypt Station in particular. This album opens and closes with short ambient passages that not only tie into the record's concept, but give us some breathing room around the songs. Paul, of course, digs into his usual groove. Most of this is his usual blend of pop and rock, but there are some moments that reach backwards in time to his work on early Wings records, albums with his wife, and some more of his standout textures and songwriting chops. Egypt Station even comes packaged in an adventurous, sprawling digipack. I filmed this a while back with one hand, so you'll just have to picture the disc in your head. My top tracks from Paul's Egypt station are going to be Happy With You, For You, and Back in Brazil. That second song rubs people the wrong way sometimes, but I'd never do that to you. This is a beautiful one. Back in May, we picked Lives Outgrown by Beth Gibbons. We've actually featured Beth on this TV channel before, in a previous CD swap, where the trip-hop group Portishead made the rounds. Besides being a talented, versatile vocalist and gifted lyricist for Portishead, Beth Gibbons ventured into solo work previously with her record Out of Season, in collaboration with former Talk Talk bassist Paul Webb, also known as Rustin Man. While Out of Season did very well with critics, especially with the jazz-based textures and stripped-down production, Beth wouldn't release another solo album for over 20 years. That, of course, changed with Lives Outgrown in 2024, a stellar record that not only leans into a rich and expansive chamber pop sound, but expertly pins down the difficult experiences of grief and loss. Beth drew inspiration from her personal life when producing this project, and that sense of grief extends from the music straight into the packaging. Everything is just a little dark, muted, and plainly stated. I would easily recommend the songs Floating on a Moment, Burden of Life, and Reaching Out. Beautiful, beautiful masterwork. Coming up next is none other than the album Mer de Noms by A Perfect Circle. Things are about to get heavier very fast. Just like with the Beth Gibbons record, another musician has been featured in this series before. Maynard James Keenan was in cahoots with me when Anima by Tool showed up earlier this year. But A Perfect Circle is a different animal altogether. Maynard fronts this group again as singer and wordsmith, but this time he's propped up by guitarist, engineer, and producer Billy Howardell, bassist and violinist Paz Lenchenton of Pixies and Smashing Pumpkins fame, Queens of the Stone Age and failure darling Troy Van Leeuwen, and of course Josh Freese, one of the session drummers and percussion sorcerers of all time. Chicken, steak, has never tasted so good. This supergroup released Mer de Noms, French for Sea of Names, back in 1999. And it's one of the premier alternative metal albums of the last millennium. Crushing guitars, bombastic drumming, soaring melodies, and devastating lyrics from Maynard create a brooding, powerful package. The jewel case is just as mysterious and sinister. I picked mine up at a yard sale, and I bet you can find a better copy at your local record store. In the interest of fun and easy discourse, you'd be best starting off with The Hollow, Judith, and Orestes. Alright, here we go. This was directly inspired by my trip to Minnesota to see this guy perform. We've got Another Side of Bob Dylan, by this very same guy. Bob Dylan, like Paul McCartney, is You Bet. His album Street Legal appeared in our very first CD swap, and after seeing him live back in April, I started to dig through more of his older records and give them some well-deserved automotive adventures. Another Side of Bob Dylan is probably best known for the more personal songwriting, anecdotal poetry, and musical backdrops, edging closer to that of the Beatles. What really makes this record shine for me are Dylan's lyrics, his introspective takes, and his fully developed folk sound. All of it creates an inflection point for where Dylan was likely to take his career next. My CD was given to me by my younger brother for Christmas, and I've always appreciated having a Columbia reissue to be played anywhere a CD drive is nearby. Have I mentioned I listen to these in the car? The top tracks from Another Side of Bob Dylan are All I Really Want to Do, Chimes of Freedom, and It Ain't Me, Babe. Of course, the entire record is astounding, and it's something you should really have on CD, LP, or even VHS. The last one we've got in the May stack is the seminal indie album No Need to Argue by the Cranberries. You probably know this group relatively well. They're the masterminds behind Dreams, Linger, and Zombie. Irish darlings through and through, this band was my lifeblood as a child, and due to my ancestral roots, I like to think there's a lot to identify with here. No Need to Argue includes the super hit Zombie, and some of the Cranberries' best songs and sonic textures. This album is louder than their previous one, and even darker. Dolores is the vocalist of the decade on every song, and the band is as tight as ever in their arrangements. I got my CD copy from my mother when I was young, and this was one of the first groups I was ever introduced to. I also like to think that in some small way, my journey to radical action began with the Cranberries and only increased in intensity when I discovered more politically charged songwriting. The top tracks from No Need to Argue, for me personally, are definitely Zombie, Yates' Grave, and The Icicle Melts. What a stellar indie record that's only continued to influence so many Irishmen and casual listeners. We're jumping right into the month of June. Hope you're okay with that. At the top of this pile is a super fun release. Everything You Didn't Want to Hear by Eli Orion. This is pretty special, and I'm willing to bet actual dollars that you'll be tickled pink by this album. Eli Orion is a wildly talented musician and songwriter currently attending Lawrence University. I had the privilege to see him and his ensemble perform when I did door duty and cover charges for a separate band on their bill. What an extraordinary experience to hear cleverly crafted pop rock, progressive indie, and multi-dimensional soundscapes in truly striking context. It's a bit like watching a scientist at work. When I saw Eli Orion, I remember hearing some of this album's material at the show and being blown away by the efforts to recreate the live sound. Orion and his cadre of musicians employed a buffet of instruments, technical wizardry such as over-ear monitors, and pre-recorded samples to easily transition into more complex passages. Color me impressed. I think you should start with the songs The Bells, Rebound Baby, and Infinity, Right Track, Part 2. Let this be a reminder to always see local shows, support your local artists, and just keep an open mind. Okay, coming in hot, it looks like we have 2016's Untitled, Unmastered by Kendrick Lamar. I sure hope you're loosened up, because that's the only way to get through something like this. K-Dot has made the rounds before as we've swapped CDs in and out of the Volkswagen. Previously, we listened to Damn, and more to the point, the Collector's Edition. That includes a reverse sequence of tracks. When I selected Damn Collector's Edition way back, I knew that more of Kendrick's material would provide more depth and topical lyricism to my daily drives, if I ended up choosing another album of his. And boy was I objectively correct. While Untitled Unmastered continues some of the heady bars and prescient talking points from To Pimp a Butterfly, it distinguishes itself in K-Dot's catalog for having a set of Untitled Unmastered 8 tracks featuring production from CeeLo Green, SZA, and Thundercat. Maybe I shouldn't give CeeLo too much street cred. If you'd like to journey through neighborhoods of Afrofuturism, Eastern philosophies, Los Angeles privileges, and life on the road, take a detour through Untitled Unmastered. I would handily recommend Untitled number 1, Untitled number 6, and Untitled number 7. Sorry, I'm not going to help you out more than that. Go to a thrift store or a record store, buy yourself a copy. That's what I did, as you can see by that pesky wax pencil. Next up in our June CD pile is definitely an excellent choice. REM snuck into my car with one of their greatest, Green. Many of you fine people know who REM is. They're the Southerners behind the hit single It's the End of the World as We Know It, and I Feel Fine, and also the album Reveal. One of the group's greatest assets was their collective wisdom. All 4 original members worked together in harmony, constructing a distinctive style and seminal college rock sound in true democratic fashion. Drummer Bill Berry amicably left the group at one point, quitting his main gig to be a farmer. I know a little something about that. Probably the biggest newsworthy thing from REM in the last 20 years is that once they wrapped up their 2011 record Collapse Into Now, they all decided to call it a day. And the rest is history. What a cool group of guys. Green is one cool album and an even cooler CD, but some fans claim to be detractors. It's the second record of theirs produced with Scott Litt, and their first on Warner Brothers Records, as opposed to their original home base, IRS. All in all, Green is stellar. It's chock full of poppy melodies, a few tricky Thanksgiving topics, and lots of interesting musical experiments with the mandolin, organ, accordion, and pedal steel. This copy is not necessarily my own, but it is in my collection. Peep the concert ticket from my stepdad when he first saw REM and then purchased the album. My top tracks from Green are most definitely Stand, World Leader Pretend, Orange Crush, and I Remember California. Let's go. This one is super quirky. This CD is quirked up. This is Team Boo by Mates of State. We're in for a real treat, everybody. When one of my sisters was a toddler, and I was about 12 or 13, my responsibilities included sourcing appropriate children's programming whenever I was on duty. I watched Mates of State during an episode of Yo Gabba Gabba, and I was immediately intrigued by the duo's unique sound of vocal duets, piano, and drums in a tight, simple formula. Besides children's programming, Mates of State have released studio albums, toured frequently, and have amazed countless fans with their distilled and polished indie pop style. Team Boo is the crest of a major wave. It's not only the duo's final album on polyvinyl before hitting the big leagues, but it contains some of their freshest, energetic indie pop and infectious vocal harmonies of their career. I think that blend of loose, bombastic drumming, tack piano and Wurlitzer organ, and low and high voice combo will set you straight for any number of problems you might be having. The absolute top tracks from Team Boo, in my opinion, are Ha Ha, Weiner's Bio, The Kiss Away, and An Experiment. When I was 14 or 15, I bought the CD at a Goodwill, but I have no idea if that can be replicated again. Visit the internet. You'll want this one in your car for sure. Our penultimate June CD is none other than a true classic. Licensed to Ill by the Beastie Boys. We're not quite at K-Dot's level, but that's to be expected every once in a while. The Beastie Boys were a catchy, fun, and easygoing hip-hop trio from New York City, made up of 3 white dudes who loved all kinds of incredible music. Though founding member MCA passed away some years ago, and the trio is no longer active, their reign over the white hip-hop charts lasted a long time, and they produced some hilarious and genius albums over the years. Licensed to Ill is their debut record, their most rap rock centric, and their only release on Def Jam, Rick Rubin's label. The fusion of white Jewish punk rock with the ethos, production, and programming of New York hip hop is one of the most fascinating aspects of 20th century East Coast music. Because of this breakfast combo, we got to have not only this album, but Check Your Head, Ill Communication, and Paul's Boutique, all killer records with absurd production, dated yet refrigerated group rhyming, and some of the funniest topics put to tape. Licensed to Ill is no different. I don't know where my CD came from, but it's not hard to find at all. It's one of the best-selling hip-hop and rap rock albums of all time. Just go look behind a bush or something. The best tracks from Licensed to Ill are for sure going to be Girls, Fight for Your Right, No Sleep Till Brooklyn, Paul Revere, and Brass Monkey. That last one might be the greatest song of all time. Last one up in this stack right here is another classic, though I don't expect everybody here to agree with me. We've got The Killers with their second studio album from 2006, Sam's Town. I was so glad to have this in the car, and let me tell you why. Everybody knows and loves The Killers. We all love singing along to Mr. Brightside. Their live shows are considered some of the biggest and most entertaining A-list concerts nationwide, and they've managed to teeter between relevance and obscurity ever since their debut album, Hot Fuss. Part of that teetering comes from the fact that since Sam's Town, Brandon Flowers and his crew of killers have been steering their train towards an ever more Heartland rock, East Street, Bruce Springsteen grocery aisle sound. I'm going to level with you. I love most of the Killers' music, and I wish I could see them sometime. But I'm also going to be realistic. The one and only time that the Killers really nail this Heartland rock sound outside of their new wave beginnings is on this record specifically. After Sam's Town, their career sort of nosedives from 2008 to 2016. That's not my fault, but I love this record and admire Brandon's attempts to fuse their original new wave influences with this E Street style. The best songs on Sam's Town, in my opinion, are the title track, When You Were Young, For Reasons Unknown, Read My Mind, Bones, and Why Do I Keep Counting? Yeah, that's a lot of songs, but 2006 was also many years ago. Did you think about that? Once again, it's time to jump into another month of music. You want to see how June turned into July? Well, here we go. First up is Devo's Greatest Hits. Yeah, I guess I went there last month. Devo is best known for Whip It, being a little weird, and being pretty much right about everything all of the time. Speaking of being weird, you've seen those silly hats before. Those are called energy domes, and you can wear one yourself, given you have enough confidence. Mr. President, another connection to Yo Gabba Gabba has flown into living up to its name. Devo's Greatest Hits from 1990 contains all their famous songs and some of their more intriguing deep cuts, built on a unique 80s sound of loud guitars, buzzy synths, off-kilter vocals, and drumming so machine-tuned it's actually terrifying. Devo is secretly one of the coolest groups of all time. This used to be my mom's CD, and again, this was one of the first things I ever heard. It explains a lot, I'm sure. From Devo's Greatest Hits, you should aim for Through Being Cool, Big Mess, Girl You Want, Smart Patrol / Mr. DNA, and Jocko Homo. There's almost too many to list. That's why they're called greatest hits. Coming up next, it appears we have not only a Beach Boys album, but it's Wild Honey from 1967, and it's the Japanese edition of the CD. Now, this car doesn't go to Japan, so I don't know how this ended up here. The Beach Boys are best known for being themselves, like a few other artists I've mentioned. We sadly lost the last Wilson brother this summer, Brother Brian, and so that was largely the impetus for me bringing this CD to July's stack. Wild Honey is the first album since Smiley Smile, the first with brother Carl really taking the reins on production and song choices, and it's truly the first Beach Boys record that really leans into soul and R&B while continuing the lo-fi pop production of its predecessor. Believe it or not, this makes for one of the most fun and interesting Beach Boys records you might hear. It's full of tasty melodies, great performances, and it's cool to see Carl take more of the lead. Also, I did mention this is the Japanese edition, meaning that there's an extra track on here. Their Hearts Were Full of Spring, made famous by writer Bobby Troup and cover artists, the Four Freshmen. Want to experience Wild Honey as it was intended? Go and listen to the title track, I Was Made to Love Her, and Darlin'. Want a copy of that Japanese edition? Great question. You may just have to do what I did for it to fall into the right hands. I think plenty of you folks will get a kick out of the fact that this was rolling around in the sedan all month long. It's time to check out What's the Story Morning Glory from 1995 by the band Oasis. Yeah, you know where this is going. Oh yeah! Oasis is best known as Blur's rival from the Britpop battles of the 90s, the hitmakers behind Today. Built off the Gallagher brothers' singing, songwriting, and rock and roll chops, Oasis cemented themselves as one of the most recognizable rock bands of the 90s and onward. Despite a contentious breakup in the 2010s, they have since reunited for a series of mega concerts in the 2020s. Bet you didn't think that would ever happen, would you? What's the Story is the group's second album, carrying on the impossibly loud and bricked-up production of its predecessor. Every song is written, recorded, and performed with the gravitas of being a hit single, similar to MJ's Thriller. I've owned this CD for a long time. I bought it in high school after I first got into Oasis, and even though my tastes have shifted over the years, sometimes I just need the loudest band in the world to yell at me one more time. The cream of the crop from this record would have to be Hello, Don't Look Back in Anger, some might say, She's Electric, and Champagne Supernova. I left one out because you don't need me to tell you something twice.
Ladies and gentlemen, The Weeknd.
Yes, next up in the stack is none other than After Hours by The Weeknd. Besides being the mad scientist behind The Idol and one of the greatest R&B records of the millennium, Abel Tesfaye has had one holy mackerel of a career and continues to astound the world outside of his native Toronto. As I've mentioned in previous installments, I was a bit of a nerd for this dude when I was younger, and I feel pretty privileged to have seen his entire arc all the way through. This includes the time I taught at a charter school and had my 6th grade class play Blinding Lights on the Glockenspiels. After Hours is what we'd call Abel's second comeback, where he hit yet another stride in the mainstream with a trio of electronically produced, spaced out records, with the help of One O Tricks Point Never and other underground collaborators. There are pop melodies, breezy beats, controversial stories, but above all, Abel's voice and pen game rise above everything else and transforms this into a supernova. This disc came from Barnes & Noble, which doesn't explain very much, but at least gives you a location to look for it. The top tracks from After Hours, in my opinion, are Escape from LA, Heartless, Blinding Lights, Save Your Tears, and the title track. Mario Winans shows up on that last one, so there's that. We're making a hard left turn into some beautiful earthly magic. Get ready for the Melissa Etheridge album, Your Little Secret. This one is as stellar can be. Melissa Etheridge is best known for being one of the earliest visible queer icons in blues rock and singer-songwriter pop. And she's left her mark as one of the greatest to ever do it. Her lyricism, guitar chops, and distinctive voice are hallmarks of her style. And it's clear she's inspired countless others. Your Little Secret is no exception. Albeit being her 5th album and her first of superstardom, it rocks hard. It fills in the spaces with well-crafted ballads and continues her growth as a writer despite all the constant touring. I was very lucky that my workplace had a presence at Fox Valley Pride, because I not only got to help so many people have a wonderful and joyful day, but a bookstore around there had a selection of CDs that included this one. Your Little Secret has some incredible gems, and those would be the title track, I Want to Come Over, and I Could Have Been You. Remember how I said to get ready? I sure hope you did. We've come to the end of our July set of discs with the venerable 90s record Flood by They Might Be Giants. You might know these guys. John Flansburgh and John Linnell have influenced me in my humor, songwriting, and global outlook as early as grade school. I like to think I'm all the better for it. John and John started out as kitschy songwriters on guitar and accordion, backed up by a TR-808 probably, and over time fleshed themselves out into a full rock group to tour more effectively and get more of their ideas out to the world. Flood is one of those inflection points for music. This is where John and John had retained the sarcasm and lo-fi production of Lincoln, but would introduce more socially conscious lyrical topics and instrumental experiments that would stretch as far as John Henry, when the band first got a real drummer to hang out with. This CD, I got at a thrift store when it became apparent that my mother would want to hang on to her original copy. Can you blame her? To really experience Flood at its best, you'd be best off checking out Birdhouse in Your Soul, Istanbul, not Constantinople, Dead, and Whistling in the Dark. You know what? Go ahead and throw Your Racist Friend into that mix. Chances are you've got some introspection to do, but don't let me be the boss of you. Well, we're on our way to the cabinet to put all these CDs back where they belong and see what the outlook is for August. We're seriously running out of room here. It's unclear what I'm gonna do when the rest of the year approaches, and I'm totally out of luck, physical space, and other things, I'm sure. First of all, I think I'm going with John Wetton's anthology, The Studio Recordings, from 2015. One of my biggest inspirations needs some time in the car. We're also going to choose a new edition from the collection, Primavera by Post Sex Nachos. I saw these guys at my old stomping grounds, and the whole band signed my copy when I asked them very nicely to. Next, we're gonna go with Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness by the Smashing Pumpkins. Billy sometimes makes me upset, but this porker of a record is coming with me. This is an exciting one. Stereo Vision by Steez, one of the best jam bands out of Madison, Wisconsin. For something just a little heavier, I'm taking Alice in Chains under my wing with Jerry Cantrell's Boggy Depot. Great end of summer CD. Last, but certainly not least, a previous TV channel feature is getting another day in the sun. Bingo Boys with their record Color of Music. August is proving to be one of the greatest months of the year. We've spent a lot of time together today, haven't we? Because of my busy schedule and the nature of video editing, it might not be very long before you see what's coming up in September. But don't get too greedy. Visit your local library, some record stores, or just cruise the internet for cool and fun music to listen to. Everything under the sun is worth giving a chance, even if it's not deserving in the slightest. Thank you for joining us on yet another car CD swap. 3 of them to be exact, and we'll see you back on the television set for whatever comes around here next. Sharing music with friends and friendly strangers is cool, fun, and easy to do. This is Jack T. Russell, signing off for this week. Good night!